Good morning, everyone. Today we have a very interesting session with the Chief Digital Economy Officer of the ICT Agency of Sri Lanka to talk about the digital economy roadmap for the country and what are the opportunities and challenges ahead. With the recent developments, the ICT agency has a pivotal role to play in the digital transformation of the country. From the President, His Excellency himself, the Secretary to the Ministry of Technology, Chairman of ICTA and the board, I think lots of individuals have actually come in to play different roles, and we have a newly created role for the Chief Digital Economy Officer, who is Anura D. Alves. Anura comes from the industry with 3 decades of experience as a technology leader, driving multiple technology projects as well as business transformation projects. He himself is an entrepreneur, a mentor for young startups and entrepreneurs, a management coach, and he's a husband and a father for 3 children. But today, we want to talk about his role as the Chief Digital Economy Officer of ICT Agency. Good morning to you, Anura, and welcome to the discussion.
Good morning and thank you so much.
So, Anura, what we want to start with is actually maybe a bit of a recap as well. This was discussed to some extent yesterday. ICT Agency has a pivotal role to play, and I think of late, the agency has restructured itself to drive the digital transformation strategy for the country.
Correct.
So how has ICTA restructured itself, and what is your role in that entire structure as the Chief Digital Economy Officer?
Right. Thank you so much, Yashish, for the great question. For the interest of the public, let me first give how in a larger way ICT is organized. ICTA organized this time very differently. There's digital government side that looks after the government, e-government and automating the government and bringing efficiency. Then you have digital economy, which is the question or the pillar for today's discussion. Then you have the services, digital services, that is basically supporting and looking after the government services we provide. And finally, the digital law side. Of course, cutting across, we have the technology or a chief technology arm. Now, when it comes to the digital economy, let me also, for the interest of the public, explain in a very simple way what digital economy means, because this can mean to many people many things. In short, improving socio-economic conditions of the country by use of digital technologies. Very simple. So, use of digital technologies. Now, coming with that, we have also identified very differently, looking at how it has gone in the past, what is most critical to get to a sustainable and increased level of digital economy and growth. The fundamental fact is that it should not come top-down alone, but it has to come bottom-up, which means that we recognize education, creating the awareness among the citizens, and to make use of the digital technology is the key to have a sustainable digital economy, because it is not just bringing a technology and moving away. So we recognize in organizing digital economy, and given the crux of it is education, changing the mindset of people. And the second part is behavioral and attitudinal changes. Now, to answer your question directly now, we have organized digital economy in 5 different aspects. We call it strategic business units. One, look after the industry, entire technology industry. One more thing, Yasit, we are not just looking at IT, information technology. We are looking at all technology under the ministry. So, technology development or the industry development. We have the startup nation, which is focused on building a nation with startups to get the more SMEs and successful economy. Then we have the technology diffusion, taking technology into the areas that technology has not been used, because a private sector and public sector can both get a lot of efficiency and productivity improvements through the technology. That's the technology diffusion. Then goes to the capacity building that encompasses building of IT skills, workforce for the country. There's targets, I think you may ask those later on, but targets, setting the targets and bringing those targets. Then also building the CIOs for the country, particularly national level or the government. And finally, the regional cluster. That takes care of, I would call it the nerve network of all the other strategic business units, and keep control of these regional technoparks, and taking those education hubs and the universities and also that is the regional cluster development. So that is how we have organized this time, the digital economy and the entire ICTA.
So, Anurag, you have a big responsibility on your shoulders, and it's a newly taken responsibility that
Yes.
you've actually taken. So, thanks for actually telling us how you have structured yourself. So, I think within those pillars, you must be having different milestones.
Correct.
And that you've taken up this responsibility over the last couple of months. I think when you want to really reflect on it also after maybe 6 months, 1 year. So, what are these key milestones that you have set, and how would you measure your success as the Chief Digital Economy Officer of ICTA?
First and foremost, Yasit, these milestones have been discussed at board level well before I joined, and which are all practical, by the way, and had some scientific methodology involved in, because it involved, as I said, as you said, industry leaders in the board and people like us involved, and associations and chambers involved. So there has been some kind of a, I would say, scientific or methodical way of getting those numbers, and also His Excellency have presented these two as a cabinet paper and got approved. So these are all well known up to the information technology or Ministry of Technology as well as to the President. I mean, in a broader terms, there are 3 targets we set for next 4 years, that is up to 2024. Main targets we set is how do you get to $3 billion export from the technology, right? IT, BPM and technology. The second target we have set is to get there, we believe 1,000 startups, actually we are almost on the halfway now, 1,000 startups contributing to the economy and the growth of the economy, because we can't just rely on MNCs and few enterprises. Any country, the sustainable growth be based on the SMEs. So how do you get to 1,000 startup target? And finally, when you get all those economical growth and digital being a key topic in changing and pivoting economy, you need to have the workforce. So we have set up a 300,000 workforce by 2024. So these are the 3 main targets, and there of course have been hundreds of sub-targets coming, which I'm not taking time to explain unless it comes up.
So thanks, Anurag. I think these are some of the 3 key numbers I think that will directly contribute to the GDP of the country.
Absolutely.
And you are driving this along with your sub-targets, and I think with the support of your own team members as well, the way you have structured your team.
Correct.
And some of these numbers are actually even available to the public today, I think, when we visit the ICTA website. Now, how will you internally track these numbers? Because sometimes tracking these numbers would require, I think, a composition of sub-metrics and a lot of data collation to really arrive at these numbers.
Yeah.
So what is your tracking mechanism, which is, I guess, mostly for internal purposes, but also I think the public is really interested to see the digital transformation drive of the country. To what level will you make these numbers publicly available?
So thank you, Yasit, for that question. And I think that brings a lot of attention to our accountability as well as transparency. Now, as you know very well, we took these roles coming from industry because we believe, A, that we need to make a change of high magnitude. And secondly, it has to be driven by people who believe and can do it, right? And I'm glad to have a board and, of course, from board downwards, a team of capable people who can drive these targets. Now, coming to a question, if you ask the question, will this be available for general public? Absolutely. There's no way we hide, and there can be hiccups. And we will have remedial plans to get over that. Now, for example, the pandemic came in a time that we never believed. But there is always the drifting the curve mechanism, which means I personally believe this is the best time to come up with startups and innovations. And you have seen it, because this gave us a time to think, and this gave us also opportunity to bring up new innovation. So likewise, there can be times that have a simple and short-term setbacks. So set aside that, we believe and we will make those numbers available, our tracking numbers, to the public, to your question. First question. Second question is, will you have mechanisms to track? Yeah, there are 2. So when you say 3 billion, for example, now I'll take that as an example. Now, can that 3 billion achieved as a single number, and is it coming all of a sudden, like a magic number? No. So it has broken down onto what is the export targets, what are the FDI targets. We have been now, for example, looking at in the historical 7% as the FDI. Now, Now, we are looking at that numbers, relook at that, but we have broken down again that 3 billion into two main parts, exports and FDI. Then we start basically breaking it down without going to a lot of details, these 3 billion target into other industries where, or the technology industry, different industries, which industry brings or technology brings or make this target happen. In the same way, FDI. And then we go to the country level, which markets will bring it. So then definitely broken down to that. Now, the third question is, how do we internally monitor that? As you know, we follow very closely theory of change mechanism as a government organization. Now, in that mechanism, we have to report to NP, National Planning and Treasuries and all of that, our target. So we have established a monitoring and evaluation team, which is one of the most critical teams in ICTA, that runs by people who have been there, and those are not probably available to the public, but public should know we have very capable set of people running the back office, making sure these what we promise, because what we promise to the nation, and that is delivered, counted, accounted and reported. So that is one mechanism. Secondly, my team itself for the digital economy, we have also our PMO tracking that. So I think that is the two mechanisms personally in my team, as well as ICTA level. We have a very broader spectrum and broader skill set, a team of people who are looking at, which is the M&E team. So that is how we make, yes, it's available to the public.
So I think that's really encouraging to hear, Anura, because I think I also being represented in the industry, I think we'd like to see some of these numbers being published. I think that drives the industry engagement as well.
Correct.
I think that brings us to a good point where we actually want to talk about the private sector involvement.
Right.
Because the journey you have ahead of you, the journey I think the chairman itself has, I think can't be achieved just by the ICTA team.
No.
And we'll get to the public sector in a bit, but definitely I think we have a vibrant private sector community,
right,
and multiple chambers and lots of industry leaders here. So how will you really get them engaged in your journey? And even if you could elaborate with a couple of examples, I think that'll be really good for everyone listening in.
Definitely. Yashit, I'll be very careful bringing some of the examples, because if I forget any organization, they will be saying that why are we not important? But
sure. And maybe at a very high level.
Yeah. So, but definitely, I'm happy to answer that question. Now, like you correctly said, Yashit, these targets cannot be achieved alone. Full stop. The advantage myself, board, and this time the leadership has is we all came with a mission because we want to develop the industry. As such, we have been sitting on the industry, and some of us are still in the industry side. I also have some kind of footing there. Now, in that, what it means is that we have been associated and working in those chambers and associations already. Now, achieving those broader targets and long-term targets, we have invited and we are sharing our workload with them. Actually, I'm very happy to say there are chambers and associations, without mentioning the names, because you can see a lot of names are here as well. So most of those names, the people have already come on board with us. For example, how do we develop the industry? Which areas we can play our role? How do we bring foreign, for example, foreign diasporas, Sri Lankan nationals, into play a bigger role in bringing the direct investment? How do we take startup nation concept to, for example, Germany or whatever the countries? How do we import technologies to us? Likewise, there are multiple initiatives that we have launched already, which has been there in the past as well, but in a much broader and a longer way, or a bigger way this year, working with all these associations, asking their support. So we definitely have to work with the associations and chambers. We definitely have given some targets to achieve together, and we'll be working. Example, Yashit, even in some of the committees, okay. Skill Council, the global referral programs, just giving some examples, so you might ask. And then also in some of the startup spiralation type of programs, Disrupt Asia, eSwabimani, all of those programs, we are very, very closely working with the industry associations, individually with companies as well as associations, because we believe that's the only way we can achieve these targets. For sure, yes.
So right now, what do you really feel about the pulse of the industry? I mean, you are relatively new to ICTA, and you would have started interacting with the industry as well, and from your experience, you have very close industry connects, Anura. But right now, what do you think?
Or the targets or their confidence?
Targets and what they feel about it. Are they as equally excited and also real? I mean, what's the sense of realistic nature that's really coming from them?
So, one thing I must tell is, Yasit, to the audience that it is quite interesting. Some of the associations come in much aggressive goals than us, which is actually encouraging me because they believe that. Example, one of the associations says when we say 3 billion, they say 5 billion, which is encouraging me saying, oh wow, they believe we can. So that's an example to give you the wow factor. Yes. So they believe and they have the every confidence that we can do it together. And some of the targets we have, some of the kind of mismatches, and these mismatches are challenging mismatches, which means the industry wants to achieve bigger. The confidence level of doing this together is high. And I think most important thing, like I said, the first entering point onset, I said education is the key. Awareness, desire, creating that in the citizens, public and the private sector. I think one of the ways we can achieve that is through these associations and buy in and bringing them also on board with us. Because remember, this is a national target. This is an industry target. This is not a ICTA target for us to be shine. So yes, they are having confidence, and as I said, some of them have much aggressive targets than us, and I'm very, very keen in supporting them.
So I think, again, I think the industry is really keen to work with ICT as well, and hopefully I think that same amount of enthusiasm will remain as things progress.
Absolutely.
And I think it also ties back to some of the numbers as well. I think more we see, I think more we
exactly. The point is enthusiasm has been created, but to sustain that, we have to deliver.
Exactly. Yeah.
Without delivering, and that is the reason I said, of course, we are ready to share our numbers with the public. If there are hiccups, we'll come up with the fixing plan. And the associations and the industry have that confidence because we had a relationship and they know this structure can work.
So, Anwar, let's move to the public sector because, again, I think driving transformation in the public sector is also a key part of your role. You did mention, I think, the fact that you're planning on creating multiple CIOs in the public sector. So, what is your take on working with the public sector? What would be the few key ministries that you'd be working with?
Okay.
And do you have any immediate plans with certain departments of the public sector to work with?
Yeah, so again, a short answer is that right now we are working with a limited amount of ministries given the time that we have been engaging only about now, it's a calendar year, only 3 months. But my time is only about 6 weeks in ICTA. So the key ministries that we are right now working, I think first question was, are we working with? Yes, we are.
Course, yeah.
We are definitely working with multiple ministries. The reason is that if you look at the broader spectrum of digital economy, but the government side, there is a target. Like the digital government side, there are certain departments they are working with, in my colleagues or my peers. But in my digital economy side, the primary ministry that I'm working with is Ministry of Technology, which we are reporting, or line ministry. Then finance, and then the Ministry of Agriculture, the health, the education. By the way, that education also, just remind me in the next point to bring up about education, but education ministry, the macroeconomies, I think number of ministries we are right now working, but remember, Yasit, our target and our goal of technology diffusion means we are going to the public and any enterprise that the technology can be used to increase their efficiency and productivity. So theoretically, we don't have any limit of ministries.
Okay.
But these are the 5-6 ministries right now because we are engaging with all of the ministries in the time to come. But those are the right now engagement of the ministries. So the education point to finish, we are also involved bringing as a digital economy, part of the digital economy, as I said at the beginning, onset, to improve and better reception and the efficacy, improving of the efficacy of the students and the Sri Lankan education. We are now on a drive to bring smart learning, which means the digital education. So we are also taken steps and working with the Ministry of Education and reforming how the digital education can be delivered and what are the platforms we have eTakshala being now customized and changes to accommodate that 4 million user target. Again, the main reason why we want to education is primary. We can't have a sustainable digital growth and economy without having the right ways of delivering education and having those technologies in place.
So, Andrew, driving digital transformation itself, let it be public sector or private sector, is quite a challenging task. It requires a lot of mindset and cultural change. And And this might be something a little, I mean, the whole concept of the level of acceleration that you need, the level of agility you need, might not be exactly in sync with what the public sector is used to.
Correct.
So what are the challenges you are foreseeing today, and do you have any plans of overcoming some of that as of now, or how do you really see all that?
Yeah, there are few initiatives. That's an excellent question, Yasid, by the way. There are few initiatives we have already planned to launch. I must say there are few already started. Now, public sector CIO forum has been kind of smart, or soft launch has happened. So we have engaged them in understanding their skills and what's the national or the government level CIOs require. So we already finished that assignment by now. And we have worked with some of the international agency doing that as a grant they have given. Now, that's the first engagement we did, and we started now engaging with the government departments. Now, remember I said, you asked me first question, how ICTA is organized, and I said one of the key pillars is digital government. Now, the digital government deliver the applications and automation software to the government. Yep. And my role from economy side is also create the workforce. Now, we have a very clear alignment between us, a prioritization between us. We are now in the plan of engaging with the government departments, and what the first thing we want to do is educating them. Because, like I said, smart technologies or digital technologies, how to use that? Where can they get the best harvest out of that? So, we are in a journey of educating. So, your question of is it an easy thing? It is not. But is it practical? Of course, because I think we need to tell them what do they get out of that. And some people can get a lot of productivity out of their time and serving the customer much faster way. And if you have, just a simple example, if you can, for example, serve 100 versus 10 customers by automating, I think that will really, really help a prosperous economy. So I think that is the mindset we need to create, awareness, desire to digital. So we have already started from CIO level. Now we are going to each department level and creating that. So we have a program to do that. That is where the digital public literacy as well as national literacy also comes into place, which we unfortunately plan a first launch in Jaffna, because Jaffna being a primary place for us, but unfortunately due to the COVID restrictions we postponed. So just to let you know, we have had a program, we are launching, and the first launch has been postponed now, but yes.
So essentially, Andrew, what you're saying is when you're looking at the public sector, to look at platforms, you have a colleague of yours who would be looking at the technology drive of public platforms, and you will look at it from a skill side.
That is for the public.
Yeah, correct. Public services.
Correct.
So, Andrew, I think we'd love to take some questions coming from the audience.
Please.
And if you don't mind, I'll be putting you on the spot as well.
No,
and there's an interesting question coming in. So, I think this, going back to numbers, I think we did discuss this number of 3 billion target. So there's a question coming in saying earlier there was a target of 5 billion set, and any reason for...
So I think the confusion, like I said, I remember I didn't mention association, I don't want to mention that. So some of the associations has published those high-level targets. We love to get to 5 billion. But ICTA target has been 3 billion. Like I said, there's a methodical way. Now, right now, if people ask where we are around 1.3. We have set this year target of 1.8 or 1.78. So you know that numbers, that decimal level, I remember. So we've got a gap to fill this year. So I think we set a target based on those methodical, looking at the exports and the calculations, etc. But that 5 billion confusion would have come because some other organization also talk about that, different organizations. So we did not reduce. We have been focusing on that, but we are confident we can achieve that.
Thanks, Andre. So, and thanks for taking the question up as well. That was quite a tricky one to start with.
Yeah.
You had another question coming in. So what's your opinion for new business startups with reference to the economic change faced recently affecting the foreign reserves?
Right. I think the question is twofolded.
Yeah.
Firstly, looking at what is the opinion of new startups in the current economy and the foreign reserve side. So the current economy, I'm looking at the time as well, so trying to make sure it's a quick and a short and a answer that is fulfilling the question's expectation. So first of all, the current economic conditions, as I said, giving a lot of opportunities to think. Now, will you ever think of a marketplace exist for vegetables to distribute in the country if the pandemic didn't come? So, yes. So, there are a lot of opportunities being created. And another example is how do you distribute the medicine? I'm just going from the spiralation winners last year.
Okay.
There was a system that Jaffna or Kilinochi girl came up with, which won the award and money as well, distributing the medicine. Now, had the COVID not been in place, will this come? So I think all these setbacks, when you look at, they give us a lot of opportunities. So I believe this is a great time and a right time to think of innovation. The reserve side, I think we are providing through ministry funding, as we used to do funding, and we ask more funding. Number two, there are already international community that we are inviting to bring FDI. And again, going back quickly to the Technoparks concept that the ministry president and Honorable Secretary Mr. Jayantha De Silva is talking about. So Technoparks is another way to prove that we are bringing investments to the startups, to the nation, also opening up opportunities for people to be prosper. So we are not stopping at just saying that it's a great time, yes, we should start, but we continue to bring more and also bring investment partners, as well as opening opportunities like Technoparks to get better opportunities. I'm just trying to look at and give the time. Yeah.
Exactly, we're cognizant of the time as well. So, Anur, I'd like to wrap it up with probably, making a reference to my introduction of you. You spent 30 years in the private sector, worked with multiple technology companies. All of a sudden, you decided to join the public sector. Why? And probably in a couple of years, if you really reflect on this, how will you measure your own personal success reflecting back on the decision you've taken?
It's a very personal question, but I am giving this answer not to shine myself or put me into the, to the better place, but I want to tell this to the people who are watching this, and I'm telling this to my industry also. Worked in 30 years, very simply, and there was a time that I was considering how can I contribute to the economy and the industry. And taking a challenge like this, and of course, that taking a much lower salary and all of that, and coming here is to definitely, I personally believe this is the best time, looking at the board, looking at the ministry, looking at the HEs, the vision and all. This is the best time if you want to develop an industry technology particularly. So I think my taking up this challenge is primarily depending on that I want to do something to the country, as well as this is the best time. So I invite all the industries and companies and individuals, join hands, because we represent industry, full stop. And I believe this is the best time, best era. We can take that economical growth and have that spike, if you like. So I personally believe that's the right time. I personally believe this is the time I need to serve. And as you said that I'm not in the retiring age even. So I believe I will cross back, but at some point, but this is the best time. So I believe I need to do that, go that journey.
So what you're saying is the train is moving fast, and I think it's a time for the industry as well to hop on the train.
Think differently.
Yeah. I think, so thanks a lot, Andrew, for that. I think in the interest of time, we'd have to wrap up this very interesting session, but digital economy is a topic I think that deserves way more than 30 minutes, and I think we should continue this dialogue with the audience at another point. But thanks a lot for sharing some of your insights. I think the challenges and the opportunities you see, I think for the audience as well, that you got a little deep into some of the numbers, and those are numbers we are keen to see as citizens as well as industry representatives. So thank you so much again, Anura. We wish you all the best. And I think the entire industry is looking forward to working with you and the ICTA.
Thank you so much for your time and the opportunity, and stay tuned. We'll deliver what we promise. Thank you.
Thank you.